Well, Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, surprise developments in what's being called the Xanax murder trial. The judge declaring a mistrial on Friday in the case of Brenda White after accusations by a friend of Brenda's that she allegedly heard jurors discussing this case outside of the courtroom. Brenda White accused of driving her SUV into this building back in 2006 and mowing down her estranged husband. They were in the middle of an ugly divorce. Her husband's name, John White. She hit him not once, but twice and broke both of his legs. Brenda took the stand on Thursday and explained that she allegedly took a handful, that was the term, of anti-anxiety medication, Xanax. She claims she's not responsible for what happened, claiming she blacked out and, quote, "It was not me." Here's the 911 call.
All right, and you said that you need an ambulance?
Yeah, a lady just drove through the building.
She just drove through a building?
Yeah, she was trying to hit her ex-husband, I think. I don't really know.
Okay, so she's injured?
I don't know. I don't really dare walk in the building because she was trying to back up.
Now, the prosecution says it will retry this case, and a scheduling conference has been set for August 27th. Joining me now, Brian Claypool, defense attorney, and Mark Eiglarsh, a former prosecutor, now defense attorney. So, Mark, how had the trial been going for the prosecution prior to the mistrial?
Well, extremely well. You know, this I did it, but I can't be held accountable for it. You got to blame somebody else defense generically just doesn't work. And fact specifically, I did some research for this Kelly's Court. I looked up the side effects of Xanax, and they include changes in appetite, constipation, decreased sexual drive, and, oh look, extraordinary desire to kill your spouse. I guess it wasn't going so well for the prosecution.
Well, the question is, though, whether she can get away with this, Brian, because this is clearly the defense, and she's going to get retried. She's going to tell the new jury what she told the first jury, which is, I blacked out or something. It wasn't me. He was my best friend and my lover. I didn't want to hurt or kill him, but it was that handful of Xanax, and the lawyer says that should get her off.
Sure.
Well, Megyn, look, you know, as a defense lawyer, you have to come up with some argument to help your client. And, you know, I mean, Mark raises a point about Xanax, but that doesn't apply to every single person who takes Xanax. The side effects could be different on each person. I think you have to look at the history of Brenda White, and you've got to make the best argument you can for her and try
well, let's look at the history.
dissuade.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute,
Let's
Mark.
look at the history.
You've got to prove intent. You've got to prove intent here.
Intent to kill.
Let's go with it.
Okay,
so let's do that. If you'll let me speak, I will. Here we go. Okay. At his office, she was arguing with him about their financial matters relating to the divorce. And then the song comes on, Angry Johnny. I've never heard of it. Apparently, the lyrics, which she said to him in a threatening manner, again, this is prior to her running over him in her vehicle, I want to kill you. I want to blow you away. She also called him a parasite and said, I'm going to wipe you off the face of the earth. I don't know. Xanax doesn't do that.
That's not particularly helpful to the defense, Brian.
No.
Well, Megyn, it's not helpful to the defense, but I'll tell you, in the United States, I'm sure there's a lot of wives and husbands who have made some nasty remarks about each other and said, I want to get rid of you, or I wish you were dead, and things like that. I'm not saying that's right, but there's a big difference between saying something like that and forming an intent in your mind that you want to do this.
That's true. That's true. And therefore, if this prosecution was for an idea she had in her head, it would have no chance. But then there was phase 2 where she ran him over with her SUV.
Ooh. Right, but hey, Megyn, here's the thing, though. If she hasn't taken Xanax before, and this is the first time she's taken it,
we'll talk about that right after the break. Brian Claypool, you were saying if she didn't know what the Xanax was going to do, or the effect it was going to have on her. Do we have evidence that this was her first time taking Xanax?
Well, these are questions we have to ask ourselves. A, has she taken Xanax before? B, if she hasn't, how much did she take on this occasion?
A handful.
And what would that affect? Well, she took a handful, then that could cause a blackout.
Why does that give her a pass?
Because it doesn't show that she intended on harming him, then, Megyn.
Okay, so anybody who wants to try to kill their spouse, Mark, all you have to do is take a handful of Xanax before, and you're off scot-free because it negates intent.
Right. And let me just say this. Today is actually my wedding anniversary, so I hope my wife isn't watching this. But let me say this to be very clear. Even if all the jurors themselves took handfuls of Xanax, they're not going to excuse the fact that this woman drove directly into a building, and only one person was in her path.
She could have blacked out.
And that person,
she could have blacked out.
Yeah, it's all theoretically possible.
Well,
yes,
let me ask you this,
right.
Brian.
It's all theoretically
does it help her defense that the way in which she allegedly tried to kill him was so outrageous? You know, I mean, does it help her suggestion that she was out of her mind?
Megyn, look, here's the bottom line. Mark's not a medical expert. He's not going to be able to testify at court as to the effect of Xanax. You got to have a medical expert talk. If she's driving this SUV and she drives into a building, the argument is she could have possibly blacked out because she took the Xanax. It's that simple. Maybe,
Brian,
hold on a second, maybe she's not convicted of attempted murder. Maybe it's negligent homicide. If he didn't die, so you know.
But listen, here's the thing, Mark. What happened in between her taking the handful of Xanax and the alleged attempted murder, supposedly, was she heard her husband on the phone in the parking garage telling someone else he loved her. That, to me, that came from her side. She testified to it, or her lawyer did. How does that help them?
Yeah, I don't see it, and I respect Brian a lot, but his argument has absolutely no merit. If just so happened that the person who got in the way of her vehicle inside of a solid building was the one she had declared that I want to kill you, I want to wipe you off the face of the earth. Those are tough facts.
Well, having said all that, there was a woman who was acquitted of shooting a family member based on her defense of having taken Xanax, Prozac, and some other medications back in 1999. Got to go, guys. Different facts, but we'll see. Thank you. Retrial likely, very likely, according to the